The Gothic Quarter in Barcelona is one of the oldest parts of the city. However, all isn't what it seems. I'll explore this later on. Historic preservation allows for buildings of national importance to be preserved and retained within modern cities. The city centre of Barcelona is home to the Gothic Quarter, otherwise known the Barri Gothic. This encompasses some of the city's oldest heritage assets, including its cathedral and Roman remains. This was the original part of the city, first settled by the Romans, and later in the Middle Ages, surrounded by Barcelona's town walls. With the preservation of these sites, these can be now viewed hundreds of years on from their original construction. The Gothic Quarter does have ties to the Roman settlement which was located here called Barcinio. However, development of this quarter occurred in the 13th century, with a medieval street pattern organised in the streets. This results in narrower streets designed before cars and therefore closer buildings than the surrounding parts of Barcelona. A number of important squares provide breathing room from the narrow streets of the Gothic Quarter, which important buildings flank the sides of. Now, what I've told you of the Gothic Quarter history so far is true. However, I haven't been completely honest on some of the building's origins. Whilst some parts of the area date back to the 13th century, some parts date from as recent as the 1960s. Barcelona's iconic footbridge, which draws on the likes of Oxford and Cambridge equivalents, was constructed in 1929, and the facade of Barcelona Cathedral was also constructed in the 19th century. So why is it called the Gothic Quarter then? The name itself was also part of the created heritage of the city. Historically, this area was called the Cathedral Neighbourhood. Much of the architecture within the Gothic Quarter is more neo-Gothic than Gothic itself, but this was part of a branding experience to make Barcelona an international destination. The historic centre of Barcelona was in a deteriorated state before the 19th century. This would have impacted the ability to market the city as a tourist attraction. This led to a hiding of many of the area's social issues, with previously popular housing being replaced with hotels and other tourist institutions, therefore resulting in a form of early gentrification, with locals being priced out of the area. This cleansing and branding was all produced in the run-up to the 1929 Barcelona International Exposition, helping to solidify Barcelona's cultural heritage and to create a tourist experience which felt authentic. The question then is, does the modern additions in the Gothic Quarter impact on the authenticity of this place? Whilst there are historical monuments within this quarter, these blend in well with the newer buildings, therefore it's hard to differentiate between monuments and the neo-Gothic inspirations which came after. A number of these monuments were significantly altered through new facades, the moving of monuments to facilitate new thoroughfares, and alteration to buildings to improve their appearance using parts of demolished buildings. This differs from strict historic conservation and instead is more of an artistic creation of a historic city centre. Branding of a place continues to be a major marketing strategy used by cities across the world, and Barcelona has a clear example of this from centuries ago. The authenticity argument falls down to whether you determine built heritage to be harmed through these modern additions, or is the alteration of these assets into a new artistic form also harm to this?